Hello, this is Daniel Mart back again, and we're doing another vlog style video for another film I am doing. Sorry, I have something in my hand. And this is for the film It's Raining. Great. That's not the name of the film. No, the film name is Admin 1 or Admit 1. Like, not like admitting like, oh, I admit to this, more like, hey, I admit to you to come in, or like something like that. So like it's written out right there. Maybe they're the same way, spelled either way. But yeah, and this is gonna be directed by Brandon Jimenez, who I worked with him last year on Loose Ends. He was the, I guess, second AD. I guess would be the best way to award him. I believe that was his title, or like cinematographer as well, or something like that. So yeah, wow, it is really raining right now. So I just got out of work, and I wanted to do a big part of the video about this yesterday, but I kind of just forgot. But we went through a quick like table read rehearsal yesterday, and honestly I think the script is really good. I actually really like the script. I think the one problem I have with it is more like the chemistry. The other actor, because it's a two-person show, it's me and this actress, and she wasn't there yesterday. I guess he had met with her earlier that day, or yeah, and you know, he thought that she did good work, blah blah blah, but I kind of wish she would have been there so I could do a chemistry for real, if that makes sense, so I could really get a read on how some of these scenes would be, especially for one scene that's like basically the crux of the film. I think that would have been really important. Part of the reason also has to do with the fact that he's giving me notes, and as the director, he has every right to give me notes. I'm not complaining about that, but there's also one of those things where like I want my performance to feel genuine. At the same time, however, I want it to be to what he's looking for, if that makes sense. And I feel like there's a little bit of a clash in that, and I mean, which is good, because he is, the good part of it is that he is open to criticism and communicating, and no, so it's not like, oh, you must do my way, or like, you know, what you're doing is wrong, or I don't like what you're doing. Like, he's not being a dick about it. That's what I'm trying to say, which is really refreshing, really good. So I like that. But I do think that once I meet with this actress and really perform these scenes, I think I think the film made a lot more sense to me, because that was honestly the biggest thing we were talking about yesterday during the table read. Like, somehow certain elements of my character doesn't entirely make sense, in part because of the notes he's giving me. So hopefully we can figure that out. So like I said, I just got out of work. It's raining. I need to be on set in about the next 15 minutes, and the place is nearby, so it's cool. We're filming at Coral Gables, the art theater they have there. I've been there a few times. I've been there a few times already. Last time I was there was maybe a year and a half ago, and when I saw Lost Highway. So yeah, so it'll be really cool, and yeah, I'll see you there. Alright, so I'm here. I just changed into my costume here. I'm assuming he wants the vest to close, but it just doesn't close. I'm too fat for it. So like they're halfway through filming, because I had a different call time than everybody else, blah blah. And I think from what he told me, he thought more about what we discussed yesterday, and I guess he wasn't, like, after thinking about it, it's gonna be interesting. Again, my job as an actor is to, at the end of the day, my role as an actor is to bring the vision of the director. Correct. And there's been times in other films where I feel like my vision, or how I'm performing the character, has been compromised by what the director wants. That's why I always try to have that open line of communication. Right? Yesterday, I felt he was very communicative, and he was very receptive to some stuff, and there's some stuff that he said that I agreed with, there's some stuff that I said that he agreed with, and vice versa. Some stuff that he said that I disagreed with, and some stuff that I said that he disagreed with. And I'm not sure if it's because he's in a rush, because he's been filming already for about 2-3 hours at this point, but something's off. And he's like, oh, I didn't like anything you did yesterday. I really need to talk to you about that. And I'm like, interesting, because yesterday there were some stuff that I did that he seemed to really enjoy. So I'm gonna, so yeah, now that's a little bit off. We'll see what happens. Alright, so we are on day 2. Have my outfit on, the costume on again. Yesterday I actually ate there at Books and Books. Great place. Haven't been there in a minute, if I'm being honest. Haven't been here in Gables for a good minute here. Just to show you where we're filming. We're filming here at the Art Cinema. I forget if I mentioned it yesterday, but that's where we're filming. It's right next to the Colombian, like, not embassy, but like El Consulado. I don't know how you say that word in English. El Consulado de Colombia. It's again right there next to Books and Books. So it's right here in the heart of Gables, essentially. So yeah, and honestly, I thought yesterday was kind of weird. I understand that it's a student production. I completely get that. So I'm not gonna try to, go on them too hard. But I think the one thing that is just frustrating for me is the fact that they're very disorganized and they don't really have a vision. And for me, that's the biggest struggle for me, because I'm trying to figure out what my vision for the film is, or for my performance, what I said. I'm trying to figure out what my vision for the performance should be and calibrate to what their needs are. But if they don't know their needs, then how can I really calibrate to that? So then I'm doing what I think I should be doing, and they're like, no, we don't want that. It's also like, what do you want, type of thing. So I think that's where I'm at. That was yesterday. Hopefully today goes better. Yeah, hopefully today goes better. And it's very early in the morning. We're gonna do yesterday they knocked out two scenes. There's like 7-8 scenes in the whole thing. So yesterday they knocked out 2 scenes. Today we're gonna knock out 2 more scenes, and then tomorrow they film again. I'm not gonna be here tomorrow, and so there's that. But I am gonna be here on Thursday. And Thursday we finish the film. We should finish the film and go from there. The actress Veronica, forget her name right now, but she's really cool. She's good. Very fun to work with, to be honest. And yeah, I mean, some of the crew members are here are really cool too. They're really fun, but it's one of those things that they all need to focus up. And the thing with this is, I thought this was for like a college class, and it's not. Because, and honestly, just knowing that it's not a college class or a high school class makes a lot more sense. No, this is like a summer program, like a summer camp type of thing. I'm like, oh, that makes a lot more sense based off how some of the people here are behaving. I'll be honest, some of them are just lacking maturity. Go figure. But they're passionate, and that's to a certain degree, that's all that matters. But at the same time, let me put this here. But at the same time, they really need to focus up, and they really need to have a vision. And I was talking to one of the professors, and I understand his viewpoint on this, where they need to fail and figure this out on themselves. I completely understand that, but at the same time, they're wasting too much time, and it doesn't help that they don't have a vision. So like, it's one of those things, like, you kind of have to give and take with what it is, because of the fact that it's a student film, there is always going to be those growing pains. And more so since they're not college students, because I feel like college student films, it's a lot more planned, if that makes sense. Whereas the high school student films that I've done in the past aren't really like that, if that makes sense. Like there's a certain set of evolution. Like, like they're since they're in high school, they have this level of maturity, and they're this professional. Since they're in college, they're this level of maturity, and they're this professional. But since this is a hodgepodge of like middle schoolers to college kids, it makes sense why the maturity levels are all over the place, and it kind of just is what it is at this point. But honestly, it's so fun. Goddamn, I still very much like the script. I'm not gonna lie, like, this is actually a really good script. It's just the fact that they really need to have a vision for this and need to focus up. But we'll see what happens throughout the rest of the day. Okay, guys, so this is a halfway checkpoint update. That's what I'm gonna say. Oh, Jesus Christ. So there's still the issue of these kids basically being a bit unprepared. But I think there's even a larger issue at hand, and that's that, again, this is like a summer camp type of thing. And I understand that the instructors are trying to do their best. They're trying to train them, guide them in whatever way possible. But I feel like some of these instructors are implementing their own vision into the film, therefore overriding the actual potential of the film and the overall vision of the film. And like, you want to have these students figure it out for themselves. you can't really do that if you're basically forcing them to do the film how you would do it. It doesn't really work like that. And we've wasted a lot of time with that, and I see why there's a lot of confusion as to what they should do for a shot, blah blah blah, because they're not really thinking about what they want, and they're thinking about what the instructor wants. Some of the instructors, there's one instructor who's actually like legitimately being helpful. There's about 4 or 5 instructors here. One of them is being legitimately helpful. The other one, there's one who's kind of just there. If I'm being honest, I don't know why the fuck he's here. There's 2 of them who he's helping with like the sound stuff, and so he's giving advice there. So fair enough. So he's more of a technical director in that regard. And there's one guy here who was here earlier. I don't know where he went, so I don't know what his deal is. And yeah, like I said, there's this one guy who's like honestly just sitting there like a goddamn ton of bricks. So I don't know what the hell his plan is. And then there's this other one here who's like, that's the one that's really trying to drive their own vision into the films of these students, and that's what's holding the film back. And it's like, you want these kids to figure out filmmaking by themselves, to make choices for themselves, to have visions of themselves. They can't really do that if you're implementing your own vision onto them. And she basically said that, yeah, I'm the producer. I'm like, yeah, you are the producer, and not in a good way. You're holding these kids back. You're not letting them do what they need to do, and it just is what it is at that point. And I'm gonna be honest, it's very frustrating because, like I said beforehand, there's not really a vision to begin with, and it doesn't help if somebody else is trying to implement their own vision into this. So, kind of just is what it is at that point. So, we'll see what happens. But I know they have to like kind of reschedule a little bit because I'm not here tomorrow, and they had a good plan, and then again the producer kind of came in and kind of screwed things over. If I'm being honest, and it's like, thanks. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Okay, so I just made it back home from the filming probably about half an hour ago, give or take, and so I mentioned this lady who's like a producer, right? And how she was imposing her vision onto the production, which you shouldn't be doing at all. I said this even beforehand. She shouldn't be imposing her own vision into the production, into the vision of these young filmmakers. She could give them advice, which is what some of the other instructors are doing, but she is not really doing that. She's just trying to impose her own vision, which I think is horrible. And it kind of came to head right there at the ending, because so she had, to take a little bit before this, there was an issue with the permits, which low-key, not really sure why you got permits in the first place, but whatever. Which I could go on a little mini rant about permits in a second, but I guess they got permits for one side of the street and not the other. And the kids, when they were doing the permits, or whoever was doing the permits, they said they put the wrong street name or street address or whatever on the permits. It was like, because they were like, oh, we envision on that side, but if it's on this side, cool. And the plan was to like, okay, if we can't use that road, we'll use this sidewalk or whatever, and we'll just do whatever we need to do and go from there. The problem is at this location, there are actually 2 teams filming. There's my team, or Brandon's team, and then there's another team filming, because again, this is like a big school class type of thing. And she didn't want to leave, and so we were stuck in the theater, because we're filming in this art cinema. And she had us stuck inside the movie theater with movie screens, right? Going on for a good half hour as to what, this is how you do a permit. This is why you get your information straight, blah, blah, like doing a workshop for a permit, which I'm just thinking you could have done this lesson in about 5 minutes, not half an hour, because now you're just wasting time. It's one of those things like everybody was like, okay, cool, let's do it on where we're allowed to, and she just wouldn't let them leave because, oh, you're gonna have to cut space through the other team because they're working in the lobby. It's like, no, there's a back door, we'll just use the back door and that's it. Like it's not really that big of a deal. But yeah. And then, throughout the whole film, so that was the first really big red flag with her. And throughout the whole thing, I just saw her putting her vision over the vision of the students, And like I said, some of these other instructors, they're trying to guide them. Well, some of them, the purpose is to guide them. Honestly, only 2 of them are actually doing that job. The other 4 or 5 are just kind of sitting on their asses. And then you have the other one who's trying to big dick energy all this and impose her own vision onto the students, which again, it shouldn't be done, right? But I just kept seeing that throughout the day, and we were supposed to be done at 1:30, or that's when call time is. That's when it's ending, right? However, at 1:10, she's like, "Okay, we have 5 minutes left. If we're done at 1:30, and we're at 1:10, and 5 minutes later it's at 1:15, we have time." You know what I mean? So on top of everything else, she was saying, "Oh, you know how they need to be finished by one." Like, and I understand. Like, sometimes they're at a location, you can only be there up until a certain point. I completely understand that. And if you want to have, and we still need to shoot one more scene. And it's one of those things that's literally like a quick 30-second scene with one or two inserts, and that's really it. It really wouldn't take more than 5 minutes. Okay, we didn't need the lights, we don't need the sound. We need a room tone, which we got very fast, but that's about it. And she had such a tremendous bitch fit over the fact that, oh, we're about to run out of time. Even though we still had 10 minutes left, we're at 1:20, right? And we have up until 1:30. Everybody else is already packing up. We just need the camera for this last shot, and that's it. No lights, no sound, just me and the camera, and whoever's going to be shooting the scene. That's it. Like, that's literally it. And she had this whole bitch like, oh, you have to learn that you can't do this, and it's like, I was so over her shit by that point that I kind of spoke up at that point. I'm like, listen, lady, you wasted a good half hour that we could have been using to shoot stuff. You wasted it on going over permits, which in one sense of the word, I understand where your concerns are coming from. At the same time, however, you have to recognize that this is a student production. And here's where my little rant on permits kind of it goes into. When it comes to permits, I'll be honest, I've never used a permit because of the fact that they really don't matter at the end. If I'm being completely honest, I'll be honest, I think this is the first production I've actually been a part of where permits was a thing. If I'm being completely honest, because most of the time when we're shooting outside, so it's not in somebody's house or somebody's business that they're letting us use, we just go outside, we get the scenes that we need to do, and that's literally it. Okay? And the one or two times that we have been stopped, we just say that we're a student production, which we were both times. Or maybe just one time. I know for Within we got stopped. And then, yeah, and for sure, I feel like there's another one, but I'm just not remembering right now. But besides the point, we just said, hey, we're a student production, and that's it. And like, that's the thing. If you say you're a student production, they give you a lot more leniency. Straight up. Because, oh, you're still figuring stuff out, it doesn't, So that's the thing. I understand her needs. I understand why she wants to enforce the permit stuff. But at the same time, they just want to shoot something very fast. And they agreed at that point to shoot it on wherever the permit says it was going to be. But even, let's say if they want to be rebellious and do it on the other side of the street, as long as they don't go inside Books and Books or any other business inside, as long as they don't go inside, if they're just going to shoot me walking down the street, because that's really all the scene was, me walking down the street with my phone saying 2 lines and that's it, that's something that could be done within 5, maybe 10 minutes, and that's really it. It really isn't that much of an issue. And again, people will take, not pity, but oh, it's a student production, okay, cool, whatever, it is what it is. And that's kind of filmmaking 101, or film producing 101. If so her drilling the thing about the permits, I felt was very unnecessary and a waste of time. And again, it wasn't just me feeling this. A lot of people felt this. So at the end, when she's like, no, we can't do this because we're wasting time, I'm like, you know what, screw this. Woman, lady, you were wasting time by doing this and that, by complaining over the permits, imposing your own vision, this and that. The least you can do is give him 30 seconds to get this one shot of me literally getting up and walking out. And she was like, oh, you're being very rude. I really didn't give a shit anymore. But so eventually we did get the shot, and everybody called me a hero. I don't really give a fuck, if I'm being honest. Thank you. It's one of those things. She's being a bitch. I'm gonna put it straight. She's being a bitch. She's being a producer. And then there is something that she said that's honestly a very huge red flag for me, because I was talking to her even in between this to just really understand who she is, really see what her background is. And the one thing that really stood out to me, and I'll see if I research this later, but she's done a few commercials, I guess, very early on when she started, but the bulk of her experience comes from producing these student films that she does through this organization or school or whatever it is. And for me, that's a humongous red flag. for anyone, for any filmmaker, whether it be a director or a producer or an actor, if all of your experience comes from a single business or a single company, and I don't mean like, oh, I have Mart Productions and all my stuff comes from Mart Productions. I don't mean like that. But I mean like, oh, this all the work I do is it's from Starbucks. All the work I do is from Banana Republic. Like all my film experience, it's only from this one place, you know, or it's just with this one organization. Like we have Naked Angels. That's legit the place of that's legit a thing called here, Naked Angels, also known as Filmgate. I have a huge issue with Filmgate because of similar reasons. A lot of their talent just does Filmgate projects, and I feel like if you only do projects from one company, so to speak, you know, that's a very big red flag. And I'll be honest, even with production companies, so if people only work with Mart Productions, I'll always be like, I'll be curious, like, why do you only work with me? Like, do you not try to do other auditions? You know, why is that? Like, for me, that's a red flag. If you only ever work with one set of people, with one group, with one company. And that's what she seemingly has done. And more so, it's a red flag because, again, these are all students. So, and I'm already seeing how you behave on set. You're not really producing. You're not really producing and allowing them to grow as artists. You're producing so they can make the art that you think that you should have done when you were younger. And that's how I'm looking at it. Yeah. I'm not gonna be there tomorrow, which now that I'm really seeing how this went down today, I'm kind of upset because like I do think they need someone there who actually knows what the hell they're talking about. And I'm not trying to come here like, oh, I'm their savior. I'm not, no, but like a lot of these kids are young. I'm 25. A lot of these kids, the oldest one there's probably like 18, 19. Again, the rest of them are like in high school or even middle school. So they still don't know how to speak up, and they don't know the industry that well, whereas I do. And they need someone to speak up for them because the other instructors ain't gonna do shit, if I'm being honest. So that's the other thing. I'll see how tomorrow goes. I'll probably reach out and be like, hey, how was today, or you know, whatever. And I go back there on Thursday, but yeah, I'll be honest, that was just a very frustrating thing working with this so-called producer, and that's, eesh. Hopefully this turns out well, but we'll see you next time. All right, so it's the last day of shooting. Honestly, fuck this institution or whatever the fuck this thing is. Fuck this bullshit producer. Claims herself to be a producer. She's a fucking scam artist. Legit question, because I've been researching this for the past 2 days, and I've been seeing conflicting information on it. Regardless, it doesn't how do you say? It doesn't excuse the behavior that this lady does. But for those who have gone to film school, because honestly, I didn't go to film school. I think it's kind of a trap. But besides the point, for those who have gone to film school, what is your experience when you make a film, and the aftermath of that? And what I mean by that is like, do you guys have ownership of your films? Because I've been looking online, and there's a lot of film schools who like, they own the copyright to the film, but they allow their students to do whatever the hell they want to with their projects. This institution really doesn't give the abilities for the artist to really, I guess, explore or like show themselves to the world in that capacity, because they claim, keyword is claim, that they'll submit this to festivals, and I just there's just a bunch of red flags with this. I've been looking into some of the films that they supposedly have sponsored or produced or whatever the fuck in the past to see what festivals they've gotten into, and there's been like diddly squat about that. The lady here, I've tried to look her up, and there's nothing online aside from her profile on the FFI website. I found her Facebook page, and I found a bullshit LinkedIn, but like, there's no IMDb, there's no like Actors Access, there's nothing, or there's nothing like Playwright Express or whatever that website is called. Like, there's nothing there that if she truly was creative, a filmmaker in the industry, she would have some kind of presence, some kind of profile anywhere to verify the work she's done, and she hasn't done jack shit. I found a few profiles for her in like the Miami Film Festival, Miami International Film Festival, and like, I think FLIF as well, Florida International. But it's like stuff that she's done as donor or as a benefactor for those festivals. So it's like, she knows the business side of it, she doesn't know the filmmaking side, and that's the part that's pissing me off. She almost kicked my ass out on set because I basically called her ass out on that, and she didn't like it. So take that for what you will. It's one of those things I probably should have picked the battle at a better time, but it is what it is. She's a bitch, but whatever. That aside, working with this crew was interesting. They're all learning. They're all learning. You know, they're all trying to make a name for themselves out there in the world, and you know, that's admirable. I do think some of them need to like be a bit more professional. Granted, these are all a bunch of like middle schoolers to high schoolers, so take that for what you will. Pero yeah. But you know, I can see the drive in them. I can see the ambition that they have. I would love to work with some of these people again. They're all really cool to work with. It's just this fucked up system that they have. They're in. That makes no sense. And they're trying to compare themselves to FSU. And I've been looking into FSU, and yes, FSU has the copyright, because that's what it comes down to, the copyright. FSU does have the copyright to the students' films, but one, the teachers themselves don't call themselves producers of the film, you know, and two, FSU allows the filmmaker to do whatever they want with the film. Yes, they'll help out with it, but they still allow the filmmaker to do stuff. Whereas here, they're not allowing the filmmaker to do jack shit after completion. Like, there's even a question if you're allowed to use this for your reel. I'm like, that should not be a question at all. Like, that alone is a red flag in of itself. So, because honestly, my intention was to, like, maybe I could produce this under DMart Productions as a distribution producer, distribute it to film festivals and whatever have you, but I can't really do that. These bullshit scam artists own the copyright to the film, you know? So I think it's a fucked situation for them. I'm odds are I'm not gonna come to premiere, because I'm pretty sure I got myself banned from this bullshit scam of an institution. So yeah, that's really it. Overall, it was very fun. Honestly, like I said, the people here are great. The students here are great. Better said, the students here are great. Some of the instructors are good. It's just that you have the one bullshit principal who's trying to pass off herself as a producer. Bullshit. You can't find jack shit of yourself on IMDb, honey. So there's that. And then you also have this other guy here who, I don't know what the hell his role. He was just sitting there like a sack of bricks half the time. And then the one time he decides to speak up is to confront me about, oh, you should not be talking like that. I'm like, bro, who the fuck are you? You've been sitting like a bag of bricks for like the past 2-3 days. Who the hell are you? You know? And the one thing that made sense, like, oh, he's on her payroll. And I'm like, ah, no shit, he's on the payroll. There's a few other instructors here who are actually cool. They're actually helpful. They're actually genuine. They actually want the students to succeed. It's just those two, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, that don't want anybody to succeed. This lady looks like Joan Rivers, straight up. She looks like Joan Rivers. And the guy, he looks like a comedian. I forget his name right now. It's like not Andrew Scott, but Andrew something, or Adam something like that. I forget what his name is right now, but I'll put the name right there. But he kind of looks like him, if I'm being honest. I followed the guy on Instagram. It's like Andrew or Adam, something like that. Yeah. So, but that's besides the point. Like those. I could maybe do this into a video, like what my issues with film schools in general. This is gonna be one of them for sure, because I did not expect this to be a thing at all. But yeah, because this is just crazy. Like I've heard about the copyright thing in the past, but like it's never to the point where like it's affecting the post-production the completion of the film and the release of the film. I've never heard that part. I still need to do some ADR for the film, for one of the scenes. So I'll see if I film that in the future. Maybe, maybe not. I'll see, and go from there. So yeah. Oh, the lady, she wanted to like, the director, she was accusing the director of bringing me on to like sabotage the film or some shit like that. I'm like, no, I'm doing this on my own accord. Do not blame him for my actions. And like, I tried to make that very clear, and she still tried to do that. I'm like, no, I'm guilty of my actions. If you want to be pissed off at me. Do not be pissed off at him, and do not be pissed off at him. And like, look, whatever errors I did commit here, and again, I do admit to maybe doing the battle at the wrong time. I'll admit that part, but she shouldn't have been blaming him, especially if I'm explicitly saying do not blame him, blame me. Like, it's telling me the false words on me, and I even apologize to Brandon at the end. But there's just so much fuck with that situation, and I am actually like genuinely looking into them, because like something about them is red flags up the ass. And if it's not the foundation itself and the institution itself, then it's specifically this woman. That is just this woman, and she's a walking red flag. And then the way she's running the institution is just like, no, like there's just something very sketch about it. Like honestly, just as sketch as Naked Angels or Filmgate. I will put that on the same level. So just as sketch as Filmgate and Naked Angels. So take that for what you will. But yeah, that's basically it. I'm really hot because honestly it's a lot of moving around. We did a lot of outside shots. Again, I do need to do the ADR for one of the scenes, so I'll see if I do that next week. And yeah, but that's basically it for now. This is Daniel Mart signing off for now, and let's see what happens. If I end the video now, cool. If not, I'll see you next time. Let's see what happens. Okay guys, so what's up? I am back, and right now I'm not really in a position where I can do this in video form, which is why you guys are getting a voiceover. So I just wanted to do a quick follow-up to this story, to everything that happened. And currently it's been a few weeks since the rest of the video was made, since I've filmed this project. It's been a few weeks since then, and originally I was just gonna edit the video, release it with all the footage you just saw, and that's it, and release it when the time comes, because I usually film these stuff a few weeks in advance and edit it and whatever. But there's something about this that just really didn't sit right with me, and I think I mentioned this during the video, and that's the fact that the way the whole setup for FFI, for the Florida Film Institute, and how they go about and producing these films. Now, there is one part that I've kind of come around to since then. I still don't fully 100% agree with the tactic, if that makes sense, but there is one part that I'm starting to come around to, and that's the fact that them as a film school portray themselves almost like a film studio. And you know what, in a sense, a film studio does own the copyright to the films, but that's the part that I'm starting to come around to. It's starting to make sense to me. However, everything else that they do really doesn't make sense to me. It really feels honestly disgusting. Their tactics behind it, the way that the principal of the school, so to speak, or the dean of the school, so to speak, or institution or program, whatever you want to call this, really, basically forces herself to be the producer of it. Again, you don't really produce student films, which I'm pretty sure I discussed that during the video. And I forget if I mentioned this during the video, but one of the major things that they kept doing is comparing themselves to FSU, Florida State University. They kept comparing themselves to FSU, to NYU, to SoCal, or Cal Arts, my bad, Cal Arts. They kept comparing themselves to these schools, these major film schools that are known both locally and not, like nationwide. And I was just very curious about that. So what I actually ended up doing, I ended up calling FSU, I ended up calling NYU, I ended up calling Cal Arts, I ended up calling DePaul University, another school that they compare themselves to a lot. And I ended up calling some of these schools, and I just wanted to know exactly if their film programs really do operate like that, the way that FFI describes themselves to be comparing themselves to, or if they're run a little bit differently. And what I found out, essentially across the board, they all run it the same way, and the way that FFI, the Florida Film Institute, is running it is honestly fucking disgusting. I'm not gonna hide it. My disgust for the way they run it has only intensified. My suspicion towards them has honestly just intensified. So, as I just said before, every single film school does, in a sense, run like a film company. They have the copyright, they own the copyright. Again, I don't fully agree with that, but I'm starting to come around to it. But that's a whole different discussion. But that I can live with. They own the copyright, and that's it. But they don't limit their students from doing what they want to do, both during the production of the film or when it comes to the release of the film. Yes, the teachers will help out the students during the production of the film, during pre-production, production, post-production, and release/distribution of the film. They will help out any way they can. The teachers and the faculty and the school itself, they will help out any way they can when it comes to that. They may give recommendations. Hey, I would rather do this, but if you want to do that, go ahead. It is your right at the end of the day. There are instances where they'll give limitations, like, hey, for this film, you're not allowed to work with child actors, for example, or you're supposed to be making a drama or stuff like that. They'll give limitations depending on the assignment, but past that, they're not going to say, hey, you can't do a wide shot, or hey, you're not allowed to film in this area. Even though you have the permits for it, you're still not allowed to film in this area because of bullshit reasons, which again is what FFI did. Furthermore, the nobody from the faculty usually is allowed to be credited in the credits. You're not allowed to. You're not supposed to, better say, you're not, no teacher there or faculty member is gonna say, hey, you need to put me as a producer of your student film. Nobody's gonna do that unless you yourself want to do that on your own accord, and unless you yourself have talked with that faculty member about giving them a specific credit, which again you're not forced to do. You're not forced to do, but that's a whole different aside thing on your own behalf. Unless it's that, no teacher should be getting a credit under any circumstances. Maybe a thank you credit, and that's about it. But unless you've talked to the faculty member you want, and you've told them, hey, I want to personally give you this specific credit because of X, Y, and Z, that's the only instance that they'll get a very specific credit. And that just doesn't go for producer. That could go for cinematographer, even gaffer or production design or any other role. Doesn't matter. You have to talk to that faculty member specifically if you want to give them a specific credit, but no, you're not forced to give them a specific credit. Furthermore, which is another thing I had very huge suspicions on, I had a very huge issue on, is the distribution. FFI, they do not allow their filmmakers at all to do a festival run. The reason being is because they do their own festival runs. However, I've researched a lot of the film. By this point, I've researched a lot of the films that they supposedly do festival runs for. And really, and here's the thing, I understand that in festivals, you're not always gonna get picked. For my films, I've gotten a lot more rejections than I've gotten accepted. I completely understand that part. However, it seems like they only put effort to do the festival run for a few select films. So let's say there's 5 films this year. They're only really going to care about doing a festival run for 1 or 2 of those films. Now, in this case, for this year, there's only 2 films from what I remember, so they're probably going to be focusing on both films. But in the past, they've had 4 or 5 average films per year, and they've only really cared to do it for 1 or 2 films. For film schools, they'll make sure that every single film, it doesn't matter if they have 2, doesn't matter if they have 10, they'll make sure that every single film under their control gets a festival run of some kind. Furthermore, they'll make sure they communicate with the student, with the filmmaker, with the director of what the plan is for the festival. So they'll be like, hey, we want to submit your film to these 10 festivals. And they'll talk with you. They'll talk about pricing. Now, the schools, generally speaking, will pay for the film festival admissions for the pricing, which is great. But they'll still talk with you about, hey, we're going to submit it to, let's say, Festival A, Festival B, Festival C, Festival D, right? Let's say these are the 4 film festivals we really want to submit to. Cool. And you'll make a plan with that and do whatever else you need to do, like posters or trailers or any other promotional material you need for the festivals, or EPK pack, I believe that's what it's called, an EPK package. I believe that's what it's called. I've done that for my films as well, where it's like you make a package for a film, like a promotional package for a film, where it has all the posters and all the trailers and all the background information for the film. So they'll help you with that. Now, if you yourself say, hey, can I submit it to this other film festival? They'll talk to you, and you can still submit it regardless. At the end of the day, they're not going to limit you to saying, they're not going to say, no, you can't submit it to that festival, but they'll see if it's within their rules. And here's where every school kind of differs a little bit. Some of them, in those cases, will pay for that festival admission as well. Some of them will be like, hey, if you want to submit it, go ahead. But we're not going to pay for it. That's where it kind of differs in some cases. But at the end of the day, they're not limiting you at all to submit your own film to festivals that you want to submit to. Unlike FFI, where if you want to submit to a festival, too bad, so sad, you're not allowed to. Why? Because of the copyright. And that is a major thing that's been pissing me off since day one with this institution. I know I said this in the video, and I'll reiterate it again. I have nothing but respect towards the actors and the filmmakers on this production. All the students were great. They were highly motivated. I loved working with them. Even though I'll admit some of them were a little bit immature, but still, I mean, when you have a whole group of people going from middle school to post-graduated high school, what do you expect? But at the end of the day, they were all motivated, and they all wanted to work on the film, regardless of maturity. That's the students. That was not the goal of the principal. That was not the goal of the people in charge. There's 2 people there. There are 2 of the people there who are in charge, who are more of the technical advisors. They actually wanted to see the students succeed. Everybody else, either A, stood there like a brick, like a bag of bricks, doing jack shit nothing, or B, was trying to control the students' vision, and that is something I do not fuck with at all. I'm gonna make this perfectly clear. I do not fuck with that at all. The Florida Film Institute is a fucking scam. That is it. Do not sign. If you're a student, do not go with Florida Film Institute. Go with Miami-Dade College. Honestly, they're a great local, cheap film school. They actually promote people. They actually help people out. They actually have actual good connections. They will not limit you at all. Simple as that, or just do your own films. Do not go to a scam of a school. That's it. This is Daniel Mart signing off.